Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Film Geeks. I'm Michael DeGregorio from CharlotteGeeks.com.
And I'm David Max from FilmGeeks.
All right, and it's great to have David back with us. He's been in Las Vegas for a couple of weeks on assignment.
Yeah. Top secret assignment,
Absolutely.
But we'll get to that later.
Absolutely, it'll be something great. I don't even know what it is, but I can't wait to find out.
Top secret.
Well, this week on Film Geeks, we're going to talk about Transformers: Age of Extinction.
Age of Extinction.
We're going to talk a little bit about a movie called Earth to Echo, which is a new family film.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also, in honor of Guillermo del Toro's announcement of Pacific Rim 2, we're going to do a little retro review of Pacific Rim.
One of my favorite films of all time.
Absolutely, and one of my top favorite as well. But first, let's start off with Transformers: Age of Extinction.
After all we have done, humans are hunting us. But I fear we are all targets now.
What is that?
Who sent you here? This is not war. It's human extinction. How many more of my kind must be sacrificed?
You gotta have faith, Prime. Maybe not in who we are, and who we can be.
All right, this is the new Michael Bay's film.
Mm-hmm.
It is rated PG-13, and it runs a mind-boggling 165 minutes. That's 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's actually 2:48, right?
I don't know.
With credits and
It's one
everything.
of those.
It's long. If you are going to the movie, I will go ahead and tell you now, there's nothing at the end. So
No,
you do
nothing
not
after
have
the
to
credits.
stay. We work in a movie theater, and a lot of times people are sitting there at the end of the film waiting to see an extra. If there's an extra scene at the end,
Right.
There's nothing at the end of Transformers. That is a Marvel thing.
That's a Marvel thing, right?
And there's nothing at the end of Transformers, so please get up and leave. Feel free to go home and let the ushers clean the theater.
Right.
All right. This movie takes place 5 years after
The Battle of Chicago.
the Battle of Chicago at the end of Transformers: Dark of the Moon. And the United States government, I guess in the world governments, really have
Right.
kind of turned against the Autobots and the Decepticons.
Any giant robot, really.
Any giant robot from outer space is persona non grata.
Yeah.
I just always wanted to say that.
Right.
And I didn't quite get it out. But anyway, they have gone so far as to start hunting down the
Right.
robots. They have put together a CIA Black Ops team
Right.
called Cemetery Wind, and they
Very cool name.
It's great name. That should be a great name for a movie on its own.
Right.
And,
Or a band.
Or a band, yeah. Or an album. There's a lot of things.
Album, yeah.
That'll be another project we get to later.
Yeah.
So Cemetery Wind is led by Titus Welliver. He is the main guy on the ground. Titus Welliver is great. He's been in a lot of stuff. He was Ben Affleck's partner in The Town.
Right.
I mean, not Ben Affleck. He was John Hamm's partner in
Right.
The Town. He has been in
Pretty much everything else Ben Affleck has done.
what do you say? 90? Yeah, he's been in everything Affleck has done. He's been in like 95 different things.
95 different films.
95 different films and television shows.
And television
he
shows,
was
right.
the also the main guy, the man in black in
Right.
the final seasons of Lost. And our producer pointed out that he was also in Star Trek Voyager back in 1999.
Right.
So he's
For 2 episodes.
2 episodes, absolutely. He's been all over the map. He's been in everything. He's the main guy. When you see him, you'll recognize him.
Right.
And Kelsey Grammer,
Yeah.
who is a well-known Hollywood Republican and right-wing guy, which is
And
fine.
Frasier.
And Frasier, exactly. He kind of plays to that role in this
Right,
movie. He
definitely.
plays the I'm not really sure if he's the head of the CIA or if he's just one of the top guys. He is
top guy, yeah.
He's one of the top guys that everybody's afraid of. He is
Right.
he is the leader of the intelligence agency that's hunting down the Autobots.
Right.
and basically Titus Welliver answers to him only.
Right.
And at the beginning of this movie, a lot of the Autobots have been destroyed.
Right.
The ones who haven't been are in hiding.
Right. We only have Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and Ratchet left.
Exactly.
So.
And there are I'm sorry, my nose itches. That's why I'm scratching. The Decepticons have, I guess, ostensibly been hunted down to extinction at this
Right.
point, and the Autobots are the last ones left.
Right.
And Mark Wahlberg, who steps in for the Shia LaBeouf, who was in the first 3 films of Sin Witwicky, is not in this movie.
No.
He's off taking care of his own personal
God.
problems.
Right. Recent personal problems.
Recent personal problems. It's funny, on a side note, he actually got arrested
Oh, yeah.
the night the movie came out,
Yep.
which I thought was fascinating.
For protesting
For,
at
well,
a show,
being
right?
drunk in the
Is that what
middle-
it was?
Yeah, in a show.
Yeah.
But this isn't TMZ, so we'll not
Right.
talk about that. Anyway, Mark Wahlberg is a guy named Cade Yeager, which is
Cade
a
Yeager.
beautiful film name.
Right.
Cade Yeager.
You're only going to hear that on screen.
Exactly. You're never going to meet anybody in real life named that.
Right.
He is Mark Wahlberg is from Boston, well known, and in this movie he's from Texas,
Right.
from out in the woods of Texas, or out in the hinterlands of Texas.
Hinterlands.
And he is a robot, not a robot, but like an inventor who like does a lot of robotics and stuff like
Right.
that.
They talk about him inventing things a lot in this movie.
Exactly.
And
We don't really see him invent anything except
No,
that little
it's
guard dog.
right. Well, that and the rebuilding of Optimus.
Exactly.
So
And he technically, I guess, he built the world's hottest daughter in this movie.
woo.
Nicola Peltz steps in and
Right.
is hoping to copy Megan Fox and become an overnight sensation.
Right. We were talking about that before. It's
Yeah.
just we haven't really noticed that. We've heard the name,
We've heard the name, but I don't know of anything she's been
but
in
we haven't
prior
heard of
to
anything. Right.
this. But probably we will see her name again.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So they are just the two of them
Right.
living on this farm and basically about to go broke. He's on the edge of bankruptcy, on the edge of being evicted. Comedian T.J. Miller, who has popped up in a bunch of stuff. He was in Cloverfield
Right.
back in 2008.
Right.
He's a funny guy. I'm a comedy geek on the side as well, and he's a stand-up comedian.
Oh, yeah, he's funny.
hysterical. He shows up as Wahlberg's like partner,
Right.
sort of, and basically for $100, it's either $100 or $150.
Something like
Wahlberg buys, or Cade Yeager buys an old truck,
Right.
and that happens to be Optimus Prime.
Right.
And it doesn't take him too long to realize that the truck is not a normal truck, that he thinks he might have found a transformer.
Right.
So he starts slowly putting Optimus back together and bringing him back to life. And it turns out that Optimus was battle damaged, almost
Right.
beyond repair.
Right.
And we're assuming he was attacked by the cemetery wind. I'm guessing, but he got away, managed to get away, and he was stuck in truck form. And so as soon as he comes back to life, in an unrelated series of events, Cemetery Wind learns that he's there,
Right.
and they basically track him to the farm,
Right.
and all hell breaks loose, as they say. And that gets the plot in motion. That gets
Right.
the story
that
going.
starts Age of Extinction.
That starts Age of Extinction. And Stanley Tucci shows up as the head of a technology firm who are attempting to make their own Transformers.
Right.
Out of what's it called?
Transformium.
Transformium.
They create or synthesize a new element that is, in essence, the same thing that the Transformers are made out of.
Right.
And it's what allows them to transform from the humanoid figures to the cars.
The cars, right? Yeah.
Or the planes or the jets or the
whatever they
tanks
have.
or yeah.
Or maybe dinosaurs.
Maybe even dinosaurs in this
perhaps.
one. We have the Dinobots in this movie.
Yes. So he's the head of that organization, and there's a lot of threads that come together.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of disparate plot elements that don't seem they're connected at first, and then slowly but surely they come together. In fact, outside of Transformers, the first movie, which I think was actually a really good movie. It was actually very well done. Outside of that film, this film, Age of Extinction, has more pure plot,
Right.
more pure story,
It's more coherent.
more coherent. There's a lot more. It just seems like there's a lot of wheels moving in this
Right,
movie. There's a lot of
definitely.
things happening, and it's interesting to note that this film is it's a very expensive. It's a $190 million film, which is about average now for these kinds of high budget summer films. But some of that large scale action. This film was co-financed by China.
Right.
And you're thinking, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well,
it has to do a lot with the back third of the plot.
Exactly. All movies are basically 3 acts.
Right.
First act, second act, third act. The third act of this movie takes place in Hong Kong. And that's when you start seeing a lot of very obvious product placement for products you've never heard of before.
Right.
Because they're in China. They're Chinese products. And
they do quite a lot of, we need to protect the central government. We need to protect Hong Kong at all costs.
Right, yeah. A couple of times somebody actually said that we got to contact the central government.
Right.
And the first time I saw it, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does
That's
that even?
An odd thing to say.
Yeah.
But then you realize, oh, I know what it means, because this is a Chinese production, sort of. So they are they're playing to their audience. And
it's kind of like the weird part of Iron Man 3 that we never got to see in the States.
Yeah.
But even the people in China kind of said, why is this in the movie?
That is right. That is true. That's right. I forgot about that. There was a whole sequence in Iron Man 3.
There was about 10 minutes that was cut from the American version of the film.
Version that we never saw because it was strictly cut for the Chinese audience.
Right.
And in this film, I don't think that happened in this movie. I think we actually saw everything.
We got the full cut.
I can't imagine the movie being any longer.
Right.
But
3 hours and 3 minutes.
But
That's what it would be at.
But there's a scene where Stanley Tucci is taking a break from the action, and he gets looks like a juice box.
Right.
And he starts drinking it, but it's a Chinese drink that he's drinking.
Product placement.
Product placement, exactly. Which is fine. I mean, they do it in America all the time. It's just kind of weird to see it when you don't really understand the product being placed.
Right.
And a Chinese actress who is apparently like a superstar in Hong Kong. Her name is Bing Bing Li. She's gorgeous. She shows up in the last part of the movie as she works for Stanley Tucci, and she's helping him.
Assistant.
She's his assistant, and of course she knows kung fu, and she basically protects him, and it's really, it's really cool. I mean, it's ridiculous in a lot of respects, but it's very cool.
Right.
The voice actors in this movie are great. John Goodman shows up as Hound.
Oh, I loved that.
If you're a fan of Futurama, the guy who does Bender's voice, John DiMaggio, is another character called Crosshairs in this movie. Of course, Bumblebee still doesn't have a voice, which is fine.
He just talks through the radio.
Talks through the radio, which is kind of cool. And
Peter Cullen
is back as Optimus Prime.
Prime.
Which is, he's the most identifiable voice. You know that immediately when you hear it.
Oh yeah, the trailers come up for that movie. You know it's a Transformers movie,
exactly,
just based on Peter Cullen's voice.
Interestingly enough, the first 3 films, Megatron was voiced by Hugo Weaving, best known from the Matrix films.
Right.
In this film, he's actually voiced by Frank Welker,
who did Megatron's voice in the '80s series.
In the old cartoon show. So
right.
That's kind of a neat little. I'm actually surprised they haven't talked more about that in the press. But it's kind of, unless you look at the credits, you don't really realize that.
A lot of people probably haven't even noticed.
Right, exactly, because he does kind of still sound like Hugo Weaving.
Oh, it totally does.
So he's still playing that voice.
Our producer in the back is saying, no, it does not.
Shaking his head, no, he does not sound like.
Yeah. It's more authentic with.
More authentic with Frank Welker.
Right, absolutely.
The movie is 2 hours and 48 minutes, like we said. It is an assault on the senses. And that is either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you feel about these movies.
Very destructive, very long, very mind-numbing at times.
But let's be honest, this is the 4th film. It's the first film of a new trilogy, but it's the 4th movie in the cinematic universe. If you're watching this movie, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're on board, if you like the first 3 movies and you buy the ticket for this one, you know what you're getting.
You know what you're going to get into. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all, essentially.
Essentially. I mean, there are variations and differences, but
new plot, new
But you're
robots.
basically getting the same kind of thing. I mean, it's not going to be something. It's not going to be Hamlet, or all of a sudden it's a drama.
Right.
All of a sudden it's some kind of romantic comedy.
Right.
You're getting the film that you know you're going to get.
Exactly.
So if you like that kind of thing, buy a ticket. You will love it. Nobody does destruction on this level Nobody does action
Right.
on this level like Michael Bay.
Right.
He's the only director alive who does action like this.
Well, there's a funny video that I've seen that a lot of people talk about Michael Bay using too many explosions. And it's, what if Michael Bay did the Titanic? And every time someone fell from the boat and hit the water, an explosion happened. And I mean, it's
I haven't
just...
seen that, but I like to see that.
Yeah,
That sounds funny.
it's almost the truth, though, because
Right,
Michael
yeah,
Bay
yeah.
is just, he's the king of
He
destruction.
is the king. I mean, they have a term for it. They call it Bayhem. When they
Bayhem,
whenever
okay.
He does a movie, they call it Bayhem.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth.
And, yeah,
It's what it is.
He does shots. He does scenes that you've never seen before. The use of 3D in this movie is amazing. It's
Yeah.
shot native 3D. In other words, it wasn't post-converted. It was
Right.
shot in 3D.
Right.
It was also shot in IMAX.
Right.
And here's where I get a little geeky with aspect ratio talk. Movies are usually one of two aspect ratios. You have 1.85 flat,
Right.
which is a lot of dramas, comedies, and stuff like that. Even Avengers was shot because it's a lot
box.
higher.
Right.
There's a lot like they shot Avengers in 1.85 because you have the Hulk, which is tall, standing
Right.
next to Iron Man, which is short, and you can kind of see the whole thing.
It's a scale.
It's a scale thing.
ratio.
Where Scope, which is 2.35,
Right.
is more like this, and it makes everything a little tighter. IMAX is like 1.44, I think, or 1.74. It's a larger aspect ratio because it's a larger screen you're filming. So they shot this in native IMAX, but he also shot it with the digital equivalent of a 35 millimeter camera.
Right.
So he shot a lot of scenes both, like with 35 millimeter and IMAX. So
Dual camera.
So whereas other films like Dark Knight and even
Inception was shot.
Inception was shot with IMAX. Those films, the last Hunger Games, Catching Fire.
Right.
When she went into the arena, the whole movie was shot 35 or 2.35 scope. When she went up into the arena, it opened into IMAX.
Right.
A lot of filmmakers do that. They do whole sequences in IMAX.
Right, and Christopher Nolan's pretty famous for doing that.
Yeah, Nolan is one of the first guys to really shoot native IMAX with
Absolutely.
The Dark Knight. But with this movie, Michael Bay he uses both ratios at the same time. Like
Right.
he just picked whatever shot he liked the best.
Right.
So it won't matter if you see it in regular 3D or in just a regular digital film
Right.
Theater. But if you go see it in IMAX, you will notice it
You're gonna
almost
notice
to
it.
distraction.
Exactly.
It jumps back and forth, sometimes in the same shot. It'll
Right.
jump back. You'll look at one character and it'll be IMAX, the other character will be flat or
Right.
scope. And then it'll jump back and forth in between shots, which is interesting because you're seeing a lot of massive views, but it leads to a little bit of this thing in your head. You're like, whoa, what am I looking at here?
Which a lot of people I feel won't notice,
No.
but
I was a
people who-
projectionist,
Right.
so I can't not notice these things.
And I think we've seen enough movies for everybody in the world, so we notice kind of things like that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So outside of that, Mark Wahlberg is great.
Oh yeah.
Kelsey Grammer is great. Titus Welliver is great. JT what's his name? JT Miller. JT Miller is great.
right.
The cast is fine. They're having a lot of fun. They are invested in the film. They look like
Definitely.
they're enjoying themselves. That's important. Shia LaBeouf never seemed to be really enjoying himself in these movies.
Right, like you said, he seemed almost annoyed with the material,
Right.
and he never seemed truly invested in the Transformers idea.
It's like he was contractually obligated to do it, and that was the only reason.
That was it.
Mark Wahlberg really seems to be having a blast, and that really translates to the audience because
Definitely.
you in the theater, you're having a lot of fun.
Right.
It's extremely long, maybe 20-30 minutes too long. If you see the movie though, bring an Advil. you're gonna have
You're
the
gonna
time of
need
your
it.
life. It's a ride you will enjoy. If you're
absolutely.
if you're in for this kind of movie, if you know what you're getting, you're gonna have a blast.
Right.
If you don't like Michael Bay and you don't like these kinds of films, just stay home.
Yeah,
Or go
just
to another
skip it.
movie. Don't go to the movie and be annoyed and complain.
Right.
Just
Just go see it for what it is.
Exactly.
And enjoy Transformers.
out of 10, I'd say it's a solid 7 out of 10.
right.
And
I agree.
For certain people like our producer, it's a 10 out of 10. He loved it. He's a Transformer guy. So Transformers, 7 out of 10. You'll enjoy it. We'll be right back after this. Are you ready for a change? If you're ready for a change of vehicle, come on down to Scott Clark Toyota because they have literally hundreds of vehicles in stock. In fact, they're the Southeast's largest volume dealer with more Corollas, Camrys, and Siennas in stock than anywhere else in the Southeast. So come on down. Remember, they have lifetime warranties on all brand new vehicles and select pre-owned vehicles. So come on down to 13,000 East Independence Boulevard in Matthews. Call 704-535-1972 or find them on the web at scottclarktoyota.com. All right, next up on the docket, we got Earth to Echo.
There's something in there.
Whoa, hold on.
What is that?
Did you see that just now?
Are those eyes?
Watch this, just beep. Echo.
What?
That's what we should call it. This is amazing.
Is it amazing? Because I think it's scary as balls. You understood us.
20 questions with an alien.
Are you from space?
Do you eat humans?
Are you trying to get home?
Will you show us where you live? Guys, who are they?
Let it go.
What was that?
Get down.
Someone's coming. We should go. They're right behind us.
We gotta go. Let's go. If those dudes are looking for Echo, they're looking for us.
I didn't mean for all this to happen.
Something's gonna go crazy again. Get ready.
You have to speak. You're thinking. You snap.
Echo, we need your help.
This is not just about us anymore. Go! It's about other people now.
This is my final message. I love you guys.
Now, it's interesting. You might be sitting at home going, Earth to Echo, what is that and why are you talking about it?
Right. It's the new children's film that just came out, oddly enough, on a Wednesday.
Yes.
And it's almost a revamping of E.T.
Yes, somewhat. It is an homage to the 80s style of filmmaking.
Right.
Back in the 80s, like today, a lot of quote-unquote kids films or family films are very, very homogenized
Right.
and toothless affairs. You know, like all of the edges have been filed off to where there's just nothing there.
Right.
If you go back and watch a movie like The Goonies from 1985, which is one of my personal favorites, a Richard Donner film,
Oh,
Steven
yeah.
Spielberg executive produced it. There is a lot of, and not necessarily that this is necessarily needed,
Right.
but there's a lot of swearing in it.
There's a lot of edge.
There's a lot of edge. There's
Right.
a lot of kids in peril doing very, very stupid things, and there was just a feeling of those kinds of movies
Right.
that just doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, back in the 80s, PG, you could do whatever. Pretty
Right.
much. PG was pretty much PG-13 back then.
Right. Well, there was only PG and then there was R. So,
Right.
you know, that you had the two things. So if it wasn't R, everything that wasn't get you an R rating was a PG.
Was PG.
Right. So you wound up with movies, a very underrated movie called Explorers from around 1985. Yeah, you got a thumbs up back there from Todd. I love that movie. It's with River Phoenix. Oh, Lord. Other people are in the movie as well. I went blank on who else is in the movie.
I've never seen it, never even heard of it.
Who is it?
Isn't Judd Nelson in that one?
No. Judd Nelson is not in the movie. But anyway, look up at IMDb. You'll find out who it is. But anyway, it's a good movie. It was basically about a bunch of kids who are kind of outcasts and loners and have trouble at home. And they get maps from outer space to build a spaceship to go to the stars.
Right.
And it's a really good movie. It's funny because looking back, I don't really know if it's a good movie, you know, like or like a really good movie, but it was
Right.
an enjoyable film. It was
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And those kind of movies really don't exist anymore. This movie, Earth to Echo, is an homage to that kind of film.
Right.
It's about just three kids who are basically their neighborhood has been bought up.
Right.
They're all having to move, so they're going to be split up. They're each other's only friends.
Right.
And
like Mike said, they're having trouble at home.
Right, they're having trouble at home.
They're
kind of
each
outcast.
other's rocks.
Right, they're each other's rocks. One of them is like he's a foster kid,
Right.
and so he's finally got a stable family, but now he's having to move again. So
Right.
it's a very, there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on in the background, and they're going to spend one final night together. And they've noticed that their cell phones keep getting scrambled. One of them, he says it's our phones vomit, and so their screens just become like really weird colors and all this.
Right.
And it leads them out into the middle of the desert, and this leads them to telling each of their parents that they're going somewhere else. Like, I'm staying at your house, you tell your mom you're staying at my house, and we all go off somewhere. They ride because they're in Nevada, they ride their bikes into the middle of the desert in the middle of the night, and they find in a barn, they dig up a spaceship, but it's not a spaceship, it's like a little capsule with a little alien in it, and the capsule's about this big. And there's a little alien in it that's like a little robot.
Right.
And they name him Echo.
Right.
And basically, the whole movie takes place in one night. It's like from sundown to sunup. The whole movie takes place. It's one of the, I love those kinds of movies.
Yeah.
It's a very constrained,
It's
tight time frame. And the whole story is about them helping this alien get back to his ship so he can go home.
Right.
And of course, there's government operatives who are trying to capture the alien and don't want it, they wanted to study it and all this. So it's a rather standard kind of story.
Right.
And the interesting thing is it's got a very modern take because the film is like a found footage film. Well, not a found footage film, but one of the characters, his name in the movie is, I got those wrote down here, his name is Tuck. He's played by Brian Bradley, also known as Astro. He's a young kid who's one of those kids that films everything. He wants to be a filmmaker. And he has a YouTube channel that he uploads all these videos to. And since you're watching this on YouTube, probably that's kind of a unique thing to think about.
Yeah.
So he, the whole movie is basically his footage that he's put together of their night out. And
that's really neat.
Right.
Like Chronicle.
Exactly. It's got that Chronicle feel. So it
Which
has
we're going to talk about on another episode.
Yeah, that was a really good film.
Yes.
Also very ahead of its time. And I'm not a big fan of the found footage type of movies.
Me neither.
The best one ever was Blair Witch Project in '99, and that to me was as good as it's ever gotten, and it's been downhill since then. Anyway, this movie is, like I said, not technically a found footage film, but it does play with it like it's all on a video.
That's neat.
So it does have a modern take. There's cell phones and everything, so it has that modern twist. But it's the way the characterizations are, and the way the story unfolds in kind of a leisurely, not breakneck fast pace.
Right.
It's a very leisurely way it tells its story, and it's short. It's only 90 minutes. It's an hour and a half.
It's a quick one.
Quick movie. There's no objectionable language. There might be, a couple of swears here and there, but it's nothing bad. It is a family film.
It's a good one to bring your little ones
right.
to.
It is a good film for if you have smaller kids that are just on the cusp of being able to watch.
Yeah.
More of an adult kind of film.
Right.
This is a nice bridge between them.
Definitely.
And it's just a lot of the film just reminds me of the way they told stories in the 1980s. And as someone who grew up in the 80s, that was my prime movie going time.
Right.
It just really touched something in me. It's directed by David Green, and it's written by Henry Gayden, who this is their first film as a director and as a writer. They both, interestingly enough, started, David Green started as a production assistant on Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi films.
Back in the old ones.
The old ones, the older ones, the better ones. The better ones. And
far better ones. Welcome to FilmGeeks.
And Henry Gayden, the writer, interestingly enough, started as an assistant to Alvin Sargent, who is the screenwriter on all three of the original Spider-Man films.
The better ones.
The better. So it's kind of interesting that this is their first foray, and you can obviously they have a love of those kinds of 80s films because that's just, it's hard to go note by note and beat by beat, but it's just something in the way the story is told. And when you see the movie and then go watch a movie like Explorers or The Goonies, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just where the kids are kind of playing it. There's a little bit of an edge there, you know, that they could go either way. They could turn out to be really good kids, or they could turn out to be kind of the bad kids.
Not so much, yeah.
They're not. There's a Disney thing with Disney kids that is kind of, they call it, it's kind of like mugging. You know, it's just they think they're comedians. Like all the Disney shows, they're always. They're just over the top, and it's just it's not acting, it's mugging. In this movie, they're actors. They actually play it straight. They're playing real characters. You know, they have problems, they have issues, and it's not a movie that the movie resolves all of the issues at the end of it. There's it's not that it's a happy ending, yes. I'm not going to spoil anything here going in. You know it's going to be a happy ending, but it's not quite the happy ending you think you're going to get. They don't save the town and everybody live happily ever after. It's a different kind of an ending than
almost akin to Super 8.
Yes, exactly.
Which is a film that personally I didn't enjoy, but I know Mike and Shayla also enjoyed.
I loved the Super 8 was an hour and 20 minutes, or no, I'm sorry, an hour and 50 minutes, and I enjoyed the first
50 minutes too long. You know.
Well, you know, he's young. What do you want?
I am young.
It was an hour and 50 minutes, and the first hour and 35 minutes were gold. The ending, I think it went a little astray. But everything about that movie in terms of the setup, the way the characterizations was, the kids, all that, was dead on to the 80s. And this movie is the same way. It's not quite that attention to detail because that movie was set in the 80s. Super 8 was literally an 80s movie. This is modern day. Yeah, this was modern day, but it just has that feel of the 80s. So I don't think the movie is going to be a huge success. It's coming out against Transformers second week. It's coming out against Melissa McCarthy's Tammy, which I have no interest in, but whatever.
I'm going to go see it. It looks funny.
It's Melissa McCarthy playing Melissa McCarthy like she plays everything.
In her funny stage. Stop Mike and Molly Melissa McCarthy. It's you know, it's raunchy comedy Melissa McCarthy.
Exactly. So it's got a lot of stiff competition. So it's a film that I think is going to come and go rather quickly.
Definitely.
It's not a lot of a push behind it. There's not ubiquitous ads everywhere and trailers everywhere.
It hasn't been It hasn't been advertised nearly as well as I thought it would be. Especially because when I watched the first trailer, I thought, wow, that actually looks pretty good. But it's not like, you know, your standard kids movie where you know they made a Angry Birds version of Earth to Echo like they do Rio and you know all that
It's funny
stuff.
because it's like it's almost a movie I think that might be a little too adult for the kids, or this is how the studio is thinking. I'm afraid this is how the powers that be are approaching it. They're thinking it's a little too adult for kids, but it's a little too kiddie for adults. So it's in that no man's land in between, and I'm afraid it's going to get lost. But hopefully it will be a film that gets discovered on DVD or, you know, on Netflix.
Echo himself.
Like Echo himself.
Discovered.
Exactly, by a group of kids who are unloved.
Producer shaking his head at me in the back. Lame joke, I understand. It's okay.
But if you have kids that are just a little tired of the normal Saturday morning cartoons and are like, this, you know, but you're not ready to put on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, take them to see Earth to Echo.
Temple of Doom was your first choice there.
Well, because it's the darkest of the films.
Oh, definitely.
It is. It's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I know that the consensuses are very split. There's some people that don't like it at all. Some people hate it. Some people love it. Myself, personally, I give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's
better than Transformers, huh?
I enjoyed it more. It's way shorter. It's a good hour and 15 minutes shorter than Transformers.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, Earth to Echo, 8 out of 10. I'm the only one who's seen the whole film, so I'm the only one that can really give a review on it. But,
that's why I've been nodding my head and saying right a lot.
So it's definitely a movie that I wanted to talk about because I do think it's going to get lost. But we're going to be back in just a minute with a special guest as we talk about Pacific Rim. All right, back one more time here for our final segment. And we like to call this, I like to call this, just now on the fly, our retro review.
Retro review.
In honor of Guillermo del Toro last week announcing that he was writing by himself.
Yeah.
And we'll be directing Pacific Rim 2, which will come out, I believe, in 2017.
Yep, that's what they said.
Yes.
Cannot wait.
Cannot wait. It was literally, we thought it was a dead project.
Oh, absolutely.
It was, you know, that the movie kind of came out and did not do that well in the United States.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, you know, I was so heartbroken.
Right.
I wrote literally a 3,000-word review on CharlotteGeeks.com last summer that some people may still be reading from the first time. That literally talked about how great Pacific Rim was.
The movie's, here's that word again, phenomenal.
Phenomenal. First time today. First time this episode we've used that word.
Yeah, but literally I can't think of another word to describe that film.
Yes.
It's my favorite film of all time. Everything about it is just action, action, action. There are a couple, maybe 20 minutes worth of talking.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is either, you know, they're in the Jaegers, which are the giant robots, fighting the kaiju, which, right here.
Our special guest,
Our special
Knifehead.
guest, Knifehead. Yes, correct.
Say hello, Knifehead.
Close enough, right?
We'll fix that in post with CGI.
We'll CGI, yeah. But, you know, the Pacific Rim, oh, I could go on and on and on about Pacific Rim.
And
but
I did go on and on and on last year. Yeah. It was, first of all, I'm a fan of Guillermo del Toro. I've been a fan of his for forever.
Oh, yeah.
The first movie I saw in the theater was Hellboy, which
Right.
came out in 2004.
Right.
And I've just loved everything he's done. I went back and watched his earlier stuff, like The Devil's Backbone and
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth is a brilliant movie. That is a brilliant film.
Gorgeous.
He's got an eye for stuff that's a little bit off center of what
Right.
most people would do.
It's a little out there.
Yeah, it is very little out there. Some of it's nightmarish in quality
Right. Pan's
imagery.
Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth is very filled with nightmarish images, but even though they're nightmarish, they still manage to be beautiful at the same time.
Definitely.
And
Like
just captivating. His
Right.
designs are just amazing.
Detail oriented, almost very
Obsessively
much
so,
right.
yeah.
Obsessive, absolutely. Very much akin to Michael Bay and the Transformers.
Yeah.
With every moving piece, each and every one of the kaiju have scars, they have scales, they have just every single piece of them is.
Everyone is different.
Right.
It's not one overall design that
Nope.
just tweaks. Every one of them is completely different than the other ones.
And they're all, and like you said, nightmarishly beautiful.
Yeah.
All of
And
them.
in the kaiju, what I like about the kaiju, or not the kaiju, the Jaegers in the
Right.
movie, is each one is basically, it kind of, you could tell what country it's from.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
the I don't know the names. I wish I knew.
I
the
do.
Names. Oh, you do. Okay. What
Which
is
ones?
The Russian one.
The Russian one is Cherno Alpha.
Cherno Alpha. Okay, that one, it looks like a giant reactor.
Right.
And it just like, oh, that's the Russian one. You can
Yeah.
tell the Russian. What about the Japanese?
The Japanese one is Crimson, or Chinese, I think. Or
Is it Crimson
Typhoon.
Dynamo? Oh, Crimson Typhoon.
Right.
Crimson Typhoon.
Crimson Typhoon.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and it actually has 3 pilots.
Yes,
It's the
3
only
pilots.
Jaeger in the movie that has 3 pilots.
Yes, it's just.
And then
great.
you've got Gypsy Danger, which is the American one.
Yeah, Gypsy Danger. Yeah.
Striker, which is the Australian one.
Okay. Yes.
And I know I just said I know them all, but I cannot
Hey, you still
remember.
know 90 of them, 90 more than I do.
Well, Idris Elba's.
Oh yes. Okay,
which I
the
think
one
they
he pilots
name it
one.
once
One,
in
yeah,
the movie,
okay,
but
yeah.
yeah.
It's filled. The movie is filled with great images.
Oh.
The kaiju are phenomenal. Knifehead is the first one we see in the movie, all the way through the last one. But the Jaegers are just amazing.
Oh yeah.
The pieces of the pieces when you're seeing them come together.
Right.
When the pilots come in and they load in and they're starting to drift.
Right.
That is just each piece, each section of the film is just beautiful to watch.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, oh, this is so cool.
The set designs are fantastic.
When I saw it for the first time, it was at I saw it in IMAX 3D.
Me too.
At the theater, and I actually managed to get into a promotional screening, which was like 3 days before the movie came out, and it was one of the single greatest experiences I've ever had in a theater. Just on a visceral level, it was just overpowering in a good way.
breathtaking.
Yeah, it's breathtaking. When Gypsy climbs out of the sea at the beginning and is in that fog shrouded world, and he kind of crumbles down on the beach, it's just like, I have never seen anything that cool looking on screen.
Right,
in
with the
my
old man
life.
and the boy on the
And
beach.
the old man and the boy.
He's telling him to get out of the way, and just Gypsy just
just
boom on the beach.
It's just, I know we sound like two 14-year-old nerds.
I know.
That was cool. Wasn't
That's
that
what
cool?
That's what this movie turns us into. Is 14-year-olds who just
Absolutely.
we gotta watch it again.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just
And the human characters are not quite as successful as the Jaegers and
Right.
the Kaijus, but they still are very good. The top of the line, you got Charlie Hunnam as Raleigh Beckett.
Right.
I got
don't know her
here.
name.
Hold on. Rinko Kikuchi
Right, as Mako.
Mako.
Right.
They're both great. The Idris Elba owns this movie.
He's my favorite actor.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's in this movie just makes it 1,000 times better.
As I'm going to say this, and I want you to close your eyes and let the words flow over you. Marshall Pentecost.
Yeah.
How is that not the greatest name you've ever heard in your life for a commanding officer?
Marshall Pentecost.
I would follow Marshall Pentecost into the gates of hell.
Yes.
That name is incredible.
Yeah.
And he is just phenomenal.
Oh yeah. Charlie Day does a great job in it.
Yeah, he's great. He's the comic relief, I guess.
He and Bern Gorman,
as the two doctor scientists.
right? They're the
yeah.
scientists that study the kaiju. Charlie Day's character even has tattoos of the kaiju all over his arms, and he's literally obsessed.
It's little
with them.
details like that
Right.
that are great. And
that's what
Ron
makes Del Toro
Perlman-
such a fantastic director.
Ron Perlman's Hannibal Chow.
Right.
He deals in the parts for the
Right.
for the kaiju.
Once the kaiju are killed, he goes in and his team extract like the
All the organs
glands
and
and
the
the
glands and
organs,
stuff,
and
yeah.
it's kind of weird, but
Yeah, but it's little details like that.
Right.
That each thing, the whole world, is fleshed out. That was the great thing about it. And I've used this in the past for other reviews and
Right.
stuff. We've talked about verisimilitude.
Right.
It's got that, and that was even a word of the day.
Word of the day, yeah,
Word of the day.
verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude. The world feels lived in. It doesn't feel like a film set.
Right. Within some of the cities, there are kaiju skeletons.
Right, that they've left where they were.
Right. They've left where they were, and
They
people
built
have
around
built
them.
houses in them.
Yeah, they built around, and
yeah.
there's like religious cults and stuff.
Yeah, oh
that
yeah,
are,
that
are
worship the
worshiping
kaiju.
and it's like they're just briefly in the background of the film.
Right.
But it all feels like, yeah, that's a world there.
That's lived in.
We're literally just seeing a piece of the world.
Right.
And if we went down any alley in this movie, you would find characters
Right.
and whole life stories behind down there, and that's what Del Toro excels in.
Exactly.
If you watched Hellboy, the first one in 2004, and weren't that impressed and bailed, and didn't see Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, I implore you,
Right.
watch Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. It is light years ahead of the first film.
Definitely.
It is more in line with what Del Toro, his normal films are.
What he's doing now.
Right, what he's doing now. And Pacific Rim was a very expensive movie. I mean, it cost $160 million, which is $30 million cheaper than Transformers, but I think it looks just as good.
I think it looks better.
Yeah, and it's
Our producer in the back shaking his head at me again.
it's just apples and oranges. But
The
it only
apples are always
made
better.
the opening weekend on this film, and understand, a movie like this, from a financial standpoint, a movie like this needs to have a $70 million opening to really have a chance
Right.
at success. Pacific Rim opened up with $37 million,
Yeah.
which was like
In the
oh,
States.
man, in the States, right?
It tanked,
It tanked.
in the States.
It did. It crawled and scrounged its way to $101 million in the United States.
Right.
However, it did $311 million worldwide.
Right. Worldwide,
Well,
this movie
everywhere
did
else
great.
but the United States.
Right.
So it did $412 million worldwide.
Right.
So that is an amazing achievement.
Oh, yeah.
So that is, That is a lot of money, and I'll be honest with you, I did not realize it made that kind of money.
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised. Not like everybody, not like they call me on the phone and tell me what these
Right.
movies are making.
Well, I checked the stats after
I know,
after
yeah.
it released, and even seeing the turnout at the theater working there,
Yeah.
no one came to see
Right,
it.
it was like
no one
sad.
came to see it, and I came to see it because, wow, I'm kind of bored one day. Came
Yeah.
to see it, jaw in my lap.
That was the reaction of
entire
everybody
time.
who saw it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was, and I'll be honest with you. I saw it, like I said, 3 days before it came out.
Oh,
I
yeah.
became an evangelist for this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I told everybody that walked through the doors.
I did
if
too.
If somebody comes through the doors and they'll ask me, "Hey, what kind of movies are good right now?" I would always
Pacific
tell
Rim.
them Pacific Rim.
The only
I
one
take
you
it to
need to
Pacific
see.
Rim. That's it.
Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim. See it in IMAX 3D. If you
Mhm.
can't see it in IMAX 3D, see it in 3D. If you
Right.
can't see it in 3D, then at least see it on the big
At least
screen.
see it. Yeah.
The film did find more of an audience on DVD.
Oh, it definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that discovered it. And what's interesting is our boss,
Yeah.
Mr. Jones,
Right.
he's another one that did not see it in the theaters
Mhm.
and found it on DVD and was like, we were talking one day and he says, that was a movie I really wished I would have saw in the movie theater. I really wish I would have saw
I
it
feel
in
like
IMAX.
80% of its audience in the States
Yeah.
wishes they had
Wishes they
seen
would
it
have
in
saw
the
it.
theater.
But you're going to get a chance to see it on the big screen because, well, the new one. Settle down, Mr. Mack.
I got really excited there for a second.
Well, all right. If you think about it, though, based on how they normally do these things,
They might do,
they will release it as a double feature the night it comes out. That's
I'm
generally how they
requesting
do
that
it.
day off today.
Regal and AMC generally do when a movie comes out, like a sequel. They usually do a double feature.
A double
of
feature,
that
right.
and the first film the night it comes out.
And that starts at 4 o'clock, and
4
it
o'clock in
feeds
the
into the
afternoon,
7 o'clock.
And obviously, we're talking about something that's going to happen in 3 years now.
Right.
But so
Don't tell me
times
that.
may
La,
change.
la, 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 la.
Times and dates may change, but it will come out. So you're going to get a chance to see Pacific Rim 2, which, knowing how Del Toro works,
It's going to be perfect.
the second films with him always seem to be the ones
Better.
where he can do what he wants.
Right.
Really do what he wants. It's interesting to me because the original story was written by Travis Beacham.
Right.
And he wrote the screenplay and wrote like 30 drafts of the story
Right.
over the years. And they worked for years to make this movie happen. And he did not, for whatever reasons, he's not coming back for the sequel. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal
Maybe
is
Del
there.
Toro just wants to do it by himself this
It's
time.
possible. Maybe Beecham said I did 60 drafts of the first one. I don't feel like doing 60 drafts of a
Right.
new one. I told the story I wanted to tell. Del Toro has said basically from the beginning, though, that this is a world he'd like to work in some more. He has a lot
Absolutely.
of stories he'd like to tell here. And it is a very lived-in world because Pacific Rim is a movie that starts at the end of the battle. The
Right.
movie starts in the last act, so
After
to speak.
humanity has been almost destroyed by the
They've
kaiju.
almost been destroyed, they've been attacked, and they fought their way back, come up with the kaiju program, had a lot of successes, and then had the tide turn again until they started losing.
Right.
That's where we come in on Pacific Rim. So there's a lot of that story that's left to tell. So I don't know if it's going to be a prequel, if it's going to be a sequel, if it's going to be a sidequel. It's going to
It could
happen
be.
concurrently with what we've seen.
It'll be called Atlantic Rim.
Atlantic Rim, yes. There was
side-
people joking about that on Facebook about
Right.
Atlantic Rim or whatever, but I'm pretty certain it's going to be Pacific Rim too. But that'll be in 2017, and if you have not seen Pacific Rim,
Check it out now.
check it out now. Go ahead and buy it.
I will lend you my copy if that's
right.
what it takes.
Right, David Mackey at FilmGeeks.net or whatever.
Check us out on our website. Send us a note, and we'll get you a copy.
There you go.
Some
He
way,
said
shape,
it right
or
here.
form.
Yeah, go ahead. Find us on Twitter at FilmGeeks384. Find us on Facebook at just do a search on FilmGeeks384.
Oh, yeah.
Go to YouTube, search FilmGeeks384. Be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah. Check out our website
Check out
below
our
as
website.
well.
That's right. Down here in the whatever that thing is down there.
The below section.
The below section. The below section.
The description.
Description. There it is. The description. And subscribe to our channel, and you will surely get updates as we start to hear more and more about the film. I'm sure Mr. Mackey will write extensive blogs about it on the website.
Oh, yes.
So definitely check it out. And if there's anything else that you would like to see here, if we have talked about something that you are passionate about,
Definitely.
and or if we have talked about something that you hate and despise, let us know about that.
We'd like to hear about it, absolutely.
If we haven't talked about something that you would like to hear about, if we haven't covered a subject adequately enough for your tastes,
Right.
let us know. Contact us here at the website. Contact us on the comment section at Facebook, comment section at YouTube, or like I said, find us on Twitter at FilmGeeks384 and talk to us.
Right.
We want this to be an interactive thing. You know, this is not
Absolutely.
just one way. We want it to be both ways.
Right.
You can find us on YouTube. It's the audio only podcast is on YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, iTunes.
It'll be on iTunes.
Yeah, it's on iTunes. It'll be on iTunes. That's the audio only. That's not the video.
Right.
The video is through YouTube. But in any of these places, if you go to iTunes and subscribe and get our podcast, make sure you give us thumbs up on the comments. Talk about us. That'll, you know, we want more and more comments in everywhere you find this podcast. Comment on it.
We want to hear from you.
We want to hear from you because a lot of people, and this is fine, they tend to find us on Facebook and talk
Right.
to us personally.
Right.
But go to where you find the actual video, the media, and contact us there. Comment there, so we can get the
Right.
comments up in those sections and have the people start seeing that we have people out there talking about us.
Definitely.
And find us that way. And if there's anything about Pacific Rim that you feel that you would like to know more about, contact Mr. Mackey. He will fill you in. Or you can go to the CharlotteGeeks.com to the projectionist, the Carolina
Right.
projectionist, or what is it? I don't even know my name. That's sad. Projectionist, that's it. Projectionist Geek at
Right.
the CharlotteGeeks.com. Do an archive to last summer, July of 2013. And you can read my 3,000-word review of Pacific Rim. And I go into exceptional detail about that there. That I just don't have we don't have enough hours in the day to talk about here.
Right.
But that just about does it for this episode of Film Geeks.
Yep.
But we would like to, as always, give a shout out to Scott Clark Toyota. Thank you for letting us shoot here in your wonderful facilities here.
Absolutely.
And as always, if you need a car, if you need anything in vehicle related, come to Scott Clark Toyota. You can find them online at scottclarktoyota.com.
Yep.
And just contact us here, contact us there, contact us out in the world.
We'll catch you guys next time.
We'll catch you next time on Film Geeks.